Welcome back to the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast. We have a awesome guest today because I just saw him play, and then I'm just stoked. I like doing that. I like when I just like see someone like play a show, and I'm like, oh, I get to talk to them right after. Yeah. But today I got Jake from Nothing For You. And
Hello.
Saints Can Lie, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, I didn't. I guess I had like completely like forgot because I just remember Saints Can Lie, like when we used to play in a band. Like we've played with you guys a few times, but I just saw that. I'm like, holy shit, that's right. Like,
I don't blame you because like the last time Saints released something was 2 years ago, and it was a cover.
Okay.
With that being said, we got stuff coming this year, but it's been a lot of Nothing For You over like the past year and a half. So yeah, I don't blame you.
So Nothing For You came after like Saints Can Lie. Okay.
Yeah.
Did it come because like Saints Can Lie wasn't like doing anything at the moment, or you just wanted to do something like a little different?
Yes and no. Throughout like part of the time of Saints Can Lie, I did like try to branch out and start a different project. We did one where I went to Mexico. Most of the members originate from Mexico, and we actually got to play some shows with Whitechapel. So that was really cool.
What?
Yeah,
Hold on, in Mexico?
Yeah, in Mexico. It was really weird because the guitarist of that band just reached out to me randomly. It was like, hey, can you record for us? And it was just supposed to be a one-time thing.
Yeah.
But I was looking for kind of a second project to be in. So I was like, I'll pick this up. We did those shows in like 2019 and then just dropped dead. Nothing.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
So like late 2019, someone that I didn't even really know, he lived in the same town as me. He kind of we started hanging out because he knew I was in Saints and he was a fan and everything. He told me about his project. They were playing a little show for like an open mic night in our hometown because we don't really have many venues or much of a scene. Mm-hmm. And then their vocalist called out because he had to work, and I guess he was a dunce and then had time off. So I told him I would fill in. We only played like a 2-song set, but then after that I was like, hey, like I'm down to sit here permanently if that's cool with y'all. And then there we were. The project was originally known as Devolver.
Okay.
But then sometime, I think a couple months later, we changed it to Nothing For You.
Okay. So you kind of like snuck your way in there. But I mean, it's not really a bad thing because it's the other dude wasn't showing up, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
and I felt kind of bad. I was telling the other guys, I was like, if homeboy still wants to do this, I'm not trying to step on any toes, like if he wants to. But they were like, no, you're good.
Like he was probably on that trend already of like not showing up to practice or not showing up. I mean, he's not showing up to gigs and stuff like that, you know, which, sucks. Even though, whatever stage you are in your band, it's like we're still like wanting it, especially like the show playing part is the funnest part, like at the beginning. So if you're not showing up to that, you're like, okay, we're here without a vocalist. Like, what the hell do we do? Like, it's just not for a fun time. It kind of ruins like stuff for everybody else once one person starts lacking. So, I mean, looks like you slid right in, fit right in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think some people don't realize about being a band is like, at least half of it is just sticking in there. Yeah. Like doing all the things you got to do to be able to go up onto the stage, whether it's like practicing, producing, selling, like getting a draw. Yeah. It's like there's so many little things that come before getting on the stage and putting on the show.
There's a lot of work, and a lot of people, like I said, if you're not... if you haven't been in a band or are not in a band, like you just won't understand it. Yeah. You just kind of like, oh, well, you guys just show up and play. And like, yeah, but that's only part of it. You know what I mean? That's almost like the reward part of it. It's like, yeah, we get to play live, you know what I mean? But everything else, like how to get there, like you're saying, all the work you have to put in, like songwriting itself, not like writing a song and be like, oh, okay, we can play it, we wrote it. No, like you have to practice it. Everything has to be like, you have to be put together. Just being in sync with your own like bandmates,
exactly.
Like to play the music. And not only that, like once you look at performance, like, oh, okay, like what are you gonna do on stage? And there's been times where like being in a band, I didn't think about that part. I was like, oh, I just thought about getting through the song. Yeah. Like that's all. Like I remember my first few shows when I was playing in a band. That's all it was. I was like, I just need to get through the songs. And then I like didn't practice actual like stage, like what I was gonna do on stage or anything like that. Yeah. And not to say like I had like written parts of what I was going to do, but I never practiced it. So I would overexert myself and like not be able to finish the songs like vocally. And I'm like, okay, so I need to practice like the flow of the show, which is another thing. And like you're saying, like selling yourself, like how do you figure out people to listen to your stuff? Not only that, how do you get people to come out to the shows is the most complicated thing. I don't know if anyone has it figured out, but people just try, you know what I mean? But I think it is something that once you tell more people about it, or other people like in a band will automatically be like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So it's kind of nice to like have other people around you that are in bands and in music, because it's you get a chance to kind of just have that relatability. It's like, hey, we both knew like how hard it was to like be able to play tonight, you know? Yeah,
which is something I respect so greatly of this scene, because we talked about it earlier, but there is just so much talent throughout this area, and given after everything the past couple of years, it has been so great to see something come out of the ashes, because over the past years, even pre-COVID, the Curtain Club shutting down, the Door shutting down, and then Tomcat shutting down, rest in peace to Rustin Luther, rest in peace indeed. But after seeing everything come down like that, and then COVID hit, when it seemed like, oh well, this is probably it for the Dallas scene, it's probably gonna go belly up. But then after that, it's like we've got everything coming back. We got NoiseROT coming up, which I respected so greatly.
Thank you.
And then we got stuff like this podcast going on, just more ways to let the artists and everything shine other than just the shows. There's
so much talent. Like that's one thing that when you know DJ Daniel decided to do Chill Sounds the second time around, because we had the most recent one was like the second one. We did the first one, and that was just kind of like we had a mixed bill show. That's kind of all that was going on. The second time, we try to involve as much local talent as available. So not only like music, like, but there's like these people that make food like right around here. Like, why don't we get them like involved? All the vendors that were there were all like local businesses kind of thing. I was like, there's so much talent to go around. When we started the podcast, like I was telling you initially, like it was supposed to be a 6-episode run. And it's like, it's supposed to be 6 episodes to hype up the festival, show some of the artists off. And then once we realized and started looking, and I was like, every artist that played like the show, like needs to, like, I want to talk to them, like, because it was such an awesome experience for me. And then I did a bunch of like episodes and talking to these people, and after that I'm like, dude, that was just the one event that we did. I know just from being in a band and being in a scene for a while, I'm like, I know all of these like bands. If not, I can like have quick access to them. Like I can get to like somebody if I don't know them, because of how the scene works, because of how like we interact with each other. I don't know why, but I think I've had one of the most like, I've had the biggest luck with like this scene itself. Like I've just met a lot of friends here, like met a lot of like people in bands and every aspect of like the music business that have, so it's always been interesting to just sit down and talk to people from all aspects of it. But I think in this scene especially, like we've kind of cultured that, and I think everybody, like for the most part, I haven't ran into most people that like just try to hate or bring like you down or anything like that. Specifically, everybody's kind of like supporting each other. So this felt like a no-brainer. It's like, oh, you know, let's just talk to more people. Let's keep highlighting people. You know what I mean? Because there's so many too. You know what I mean? And
and that's kind of I hate, as much as I hate to admit it, that was a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. Yeah. Because I started performing in this scene when I was like 14 with Saints. Yeah. And like the first 3 out of our first 4 shows were like Battle of the Bands. It developed this mentality of you gotta be better than the next guy, you gotta be better than the last act and the next act, you gotta be better than the headliner. And then that just kind of dwelled into my head of like, you gotta dogs eat dogs out here. You gotta try to be the best band out here. But it's not like that at all, you know. And there's so many great bands around here, and every single show I'm just so glad to get to share a bill with so many of them, whether it's one I played with before or a brand new one that I'm just discovering. Yeah. And that's another great thing. It's like, especially now, I've seen so many newer bands come out and they just slap. They're
like, there's so many bands that are just like good. But that I just want to touch on that thing you were saying was because it's one thing that I felt exactly was how do I, at first when I was being in a band and like playing shows, I'm like, how do I get better? Like, how do I become better than this band? Like, who's here? Like, how do I get better than them? And initially, that's the way I went into like the band, which, like I said, it didn't take like many shows for it to just completely flip. And I'm like, oh, like, why do you, like, I shouldn't be caring about being better than like these bands. Like, I should just be worried about how to like get us better, sure, like as a band, but all these people like are, you know, friends and like resources for like getting better, you know what I mean, and learning more stuff, different styles, different ways of approaching songwriting, different like things like that. And I've like taken full benefit like of all of that in this scene. So that's really cool to be a part of, and to also see being in like the scene as long as like even like you've had, I'm sure you've like seen it as well and like been part of it. So you said Saints Can Lie is gonna be having maybe some stuff coming out, all right? Yeah,
we got, I don't want to go too much into detail, but we got everything as far as the band itself is done.
Okay.
Some of it's already mixed and mastered thanks to having COVID, I guess. The only good thing to come from it. And then we got one session of outside sources and people that we're bringing in, and then after that it's done. So with that being said, it's taken so long to get Saints 2 going, but if we wanted to, we could probably drop like 3 singles just one after another.
Yeah.
But it was one thing I was listening to with the Atlantic Blue episode is part of, you know, being a band is knowing how to gain that traction. And with that, you got to learn how to properly release something, how to properly, you know, tease it, do all this and that. I used to hate that so much because I would be so antsy, like, I want to get this out. I'm ready for people to hear it. I'm ready for people to hear what we've been working on. But, you know, part of that's the build-up.
Yeah, it is kind of an annoying thing to have to think about. And I always, with band stuff and even, like, with anything else, like, as soon as you have something, you're like, I want people to hear it. Like, I want people to hear it. I want people to be as hyped as I am, like, listening to it now. But part of that goes into like how do you release it? Because a lot of the times what happens is, especially like at a, like a local level, but even like in any level, you release something and it's like people will listen to it for like a few weeks maybe, and then like it's gone. But you're like, oh, it took me so much work to make this, and like no one's like paying attention to it anymore, and that's like fine, like you're writing music for yourself, but you also like want people like to listen to it and appreciate it. So you kind of have to think about those things, like, oh, okay, so what are we gonna do to get the most people to listen to it and spread it around, and how do I get it out of, when I think specifically for like when we were in a band, I didn't really put into thought, but how do I get more than just like the people around me here to listen to it? And that was like tough. Like I didn't think about it. Like people were like, oh, you have to get them on like playlists and stuff like that. I never thought about that. I'm like, oh, I thought people just like put that on. It's like, oh no, you can like submit stuff to be put on things. Like, oh, okay. And I'm like, and just content building. Like, what are you gonna put out for these things? And it is annoying, especially I think when you're like a musician, all you want to worry about is like, I want to write the music and then I want to play it, and that's as much as I want to have to think about. But if you're trying to, again, get your music out further than that, and also like help for you to play outside of here, you know what I mean? Because like I know touring is one of the things that people like love to do, which is one of the things that we like never got to do. But I know that's something most bands have that goal in mind. It's like eventually like, oh yeah, I want to go out of here and play for people, and then hopefully have some like fans out there that are going to come out and maybe bring more people to come listen to your stuff. Yeah,
which, you know, after the little bit of experience I've had with doing stuff like that, like little weekend runs, and like headlining some shows, it's like, and I guess any advice to like bands that are just dying to headline a show or go on the road, it's like, you know, there's going to be points in your music career to where you're playing to a drunk guy and the sound guy. Yeah. And at this stage, unfortunately, that's how it kind of is when you go outside the state. It's you catch maybe the 5 people who are there at the bar to just have a good time, and then the sound guy. If you're headlining, it's like, especially like I said, living far away, have fun leaving at midnight and getting home at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Which, it's not bad. I'm not going to say like, oh, you should never want to do anything like that. But I look at it kind of as being an athlete, once you kind of like, as an athlete, once you get signed and go pro, a lot of people want to think, oh, like, here it is, the dreamland. It's like, no, it's not over once you do that. It's like, cool, you've done that, but now what are you going to do?
It's still work. Like, why are people going to listen to you? Like, how do you get them like there? Why should people come out to your shows?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where people get the whole like, oh, it doesn't matter like how many people are out there. Like, you have to play exactly like you would any other normal show, because that's what it'll take. If there's 2 people there, then those 2 people at least know, hey, those dudes like went full out. It's like I mean, even like I've been to shows where I've literally been part of that crowd, you know what I mean? Like, I've been part of those like 3 or 4 people that were there just listening to. But if the band like played like their normal show, that normally left me a little bit more, and because there's no one there, like, I get a little extra time and like get to talk to them and stuff.
Yeah.
So normally those are the bands that I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna go home and listen to them, and then I'll keep up with them.
Yeah.
And do certain shit. Like I forgot what band I saw a long time ago. I saw like Outline in Color. I think I saw them, and it wasn't like Dead or anything like that, but it was a smaller show at like Tomcats. And like they played, they like whole ass their set, and then like afterwards I talked to a few of them, and to this day like I've kept up with them just because like we've had like I've had like 1 or 2 experiences, one after, you know what I mean? Like people tend to remember like those like people, even when they come back to town, they're like, oh, okay, like I remember this person like was here last time. But it is discouraging like at first when you're playing like those shows.
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, playing to like 3 people can, be a really good time, because like you said, you get to make a little bit more moments, and I'd rather honestly play to like 3 people who are really into it than like 100 people who are just sitting at the bar.
Yeah.
The people who really enjoyed your set.
I just saw a meme about that.
About the color graph and everything. Yeah, that was great. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with playing to like maybe like a small handful of people. I've played shows like that where that small handful are just in it. They're having the smallest pit possible. But it's like you said, there's another person that didn't know my music that I reached out to.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's always a win.
That's super valuable, because I've played shows where like the 1 or 2, like one person would come up and be like really loved everything, and the next show like they brought 2 friends, and I'm like, oh, okay, and then like, oh, I heard about your band from this person, and I'm like, oh, okay, like the one person like could potentially spread it to like more people and bring it the attention, because it's like, oh no, I was there, like I saw them, they played great, and like I interacted with them, and they were like good people, and that makes that interaction makes people want to come support a little bit more, like if they witness that, you know what I mean? Because I've seen also bands that like I recently saw a band that I was super stoked to see and like half-assed the set, and I'm like, man, like I like these songs, but I can tell like that you don't want to be here, and that kind of like, it didn't kill the band for me. Like I still love that band, but it made me like, man, like that wasn't as fun. So you know what I mean? Next show, like I was like, maybe I won't go. You know what I mean? Like just a little bit of things like that like affect everything, and it kind of sucks because it's not always their fault, you know what I mean? Like sometimes like something happens like that day, something sucks, and you kind of just have to push through. But that's kind of like the balance I think people have to walk, that line they have to walk. Yeah,
your discography can say a lot about you, but for those who attend, your live performance can speak volumes more.
Yeah,
because anybody can go out and grab a CD, play some on Spotify, play some on YouTube, this, that, and the other. But once you're in a venue seeing that band, and, like you said, it's not always their fault, but if they just look like they don't want to be there, that's going to make said audience member feel like they don't want to be there. Yeah. It's like it wasn't a memorable time.
Yeah, like I said, it's hard, but at the end of time, like if you're at that level, like that's your livelihood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the way normally tours and like shows and merch you sell at shows, that's like where bands normally make their money. You know
exactly.
So you'd have to really kind of like, hey, like if it's something's going on and I'm feeling like shit right now, like I gotta act like that's not a thing, like at least for now, like at least while we're performing, you know what I mean? Like maybe I get off stage and I don't talk to anybody if it's that bad or anything, but even then, like sometimes like talking to those people, that's part of the job, that's part of like being in a band. Once you get to that, but even when you're under that level, it's even more important because that's how you get there, like that's those performances and those and obviously the music that you write. How do you so on in Nothing For You, you just do the vocals? Like how do you like your guys' writing process like work?
It's pretty similar to Saints. With how both bands will go, it'll be like some really rough programming of guitar and drums, and then that will then get sent to me, and then that's where, judging off of the tone of the song, where I pick a theme, and then I start writing the lyrics for it. Then we'll get together, or I'll send the lyrics out and be like, this is what I want this song to be about, these are the lyrics, like how does everyone feel about that? And then thumbs up or thumbs down. Usually thumbs up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you ever get like friction on like subject matter for songs?
Sometimes,
really.
Sometimes, I can't remember specific times, but I can get a little cheesy sometimes, and they'll be like, "Nah, let's not do that. Let's like mix this up." Like sometimes, like Hunter, the guitarist, my brother, he'll get with me, and then we'll kind of mix and match a little bit. I'm not gonna say I have 100% credibility to vocal writing, but I'd probably say like, especially nowadays, like 90% of the time.
Gotcha. Okay. I feel like I'm glad to hear that they, like, you know, sometimes you get like friction, because I think you need, like, people need that, like in any part of the band level, like you need to have that honest like critique or criticism where it's not the good thing about in a band, for the most part, unless you have someone that's just like hating on you, then you shouldn't be on that band like together. But if someone in the band like is criticizing like a part that you wrote or anything like that, it's for the benefit of like the band, you know what I mean? Like you guys are in the same band together, so most of the time if they tell you something, like you should appreciate that, because it's like it sucks, like it's an ego hit sometimes, like, oh crap, like I really like this, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of tough, especially like writing like lyrics, and if you think you wrote something, but sometimes it takes that outside view to be like, oh, okay, maybe, you know, this shouldn't have been like what I written, or maybe I should give it another shot, take another angle at it.
It's kind of going back to what I was saying about half of it staying in there. It's also like accountability. Being able to not, I guess, put yourself on so much of a pedestal that you're like, I guess, the face of it all, but being able to like take that hit of like, hey, like I love you, but this sucks, we kind of need to change it up, and it's like being able to take that hit and get back up. That's also a part of that staying in there that I was mentioning earlier.
Because you know, some people will just take that and be like, oh, you know, they don't like any of my ideas immediately, when it's like, no, I just am suggesting you like help out. Like, again, it's for our benefit, you know what I mean? Like for everybody's benefit. But it, again, especially with creative projects, those are like tend to be like a little bit bigger hits, because like again, it's yourself that you're putting out there, and it's just like, oh, nah, man, that wasn't it, kind of thing. I'm like, oh fuck, like you're talking shit about me, kind of thing. And it's like, no, like we're trying to work out like here, so we get a good song, you know? At the end of the day, like we're trying to make good music.
Exactly. Which that's one of those things, if you kind of can't put that past yourself and give yourself the check on that, then as a band, it's like the morality of it's not going to look good if you're always clashing your opinions with what people would feel like to be the best in the band. Like, it's not like one of those things where you don't have a voice, but you just need to be able to be on the same page. And sometimes, you know, majority can get the benefit on that. Because at some points throughout your career, there are going to be things that you will not agree with. There's not going to be 100%.
I think it's weird, but I think that's a good problem to have to a degree. You know what I mean? Like you need to eventually be able to agree on stuff. But like if you guys are arguing and fighting about like the way stuff should be written, and not I mean like fighting, but I mean like just having conversations about like, no, it should like maybe go a little bit more this direction. It just means that people care, like they're giving a fuck about it. If people are just letting you do whatever you want, just like, oh, it means really I'm just saying like I don't really care how the song turns out, I just needed the song to be made. Like personally, I would rather be told this sucks, let's rewrite something for it to be better, than just have someone let it go by them and be like, that's
that's good. Yeah, it's really great. And then go up on stage and look like an idiot.
Yeah, and then in the worst, I'm like, later on, I'll be like, yeah, you know, I thought that wasn't a good idea, but, you know, whatever, you wanted to write
and
it.
Then be told
like,
it.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, like, this is, again, it's a band, it's everyone's responsibility to keep everybody else in check. You know, it's not one person, it's like, oh, you wrote a shitty part. And it's like, no, we all wrote this song together. So if you didn't like the part, you should have said some shit, we would have fixed it. You know what I mean? Gone at it. It can't really be like that. And you can't really be hard-headed and set in like your ways either. You know what I mean? There'll be struggles and fights, but most of it is compromise. But I mean, like, I just speak from personal experience because I've written songs that I remember one specifically. We wrote a song and like everything was like done, like they had a parting time. I'm like, you know what, I can't write to this, like this isn't gonna be good. And I was like, we shouldn't do this. And I was kind of like opposing it, but like everybody else kind of came like, no, you know, it's gonna be good, it's not. And I'm like, okay. So I then try to write to it. It was hard, but it pushed me to be able to write something that out of my comfort zone. And that's one of the things that's really easy to stick to. Like, it's really easy to stick to what you know and not want to push further than that. So having other people to challenge you and be like, no, like you can do something here. Like, you just have to work at it. And again, it just creates creativity like that way. Yeah.
And having, I guess, kind of moments of that, stepping out of the comfort zone, that's something that I've really treaded in both bands. With Saints Can Lie, Hate, that's kind of a story of my life when there was a time when I had nothing but hatred towards like people, myself, the world, and kind of turning that into the song and the way that I can express how I felt about that, how I don't want to be consumed by hate. I don't want to hate the world I see. I don't want to hate myself.
Yeah.
And then with Nothing For You's EP, most recently, Halfway Down, the title track for that discusses a story about one of my closest friends who had killed himself back in 2020.
Yeah.
And that was some of the hardest stuff I had to write, but it's something I felt like I had to write.
Like therapeutic in a way. It's like it's the way to get the emotion out, maybe.
Yeah, that, and I know that I'm not the only person who's experienced stuff like that. So I wanted it to be like a message to either anyone who is wanting to commit suicide or someone who has lost someone to suicide, that, you know, that they're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah, it is an interesting thing that music has, of how it connects a lot of people. And one of the things that, I don't know why this like notion kind of like trips me out, but the fact that like you can write something and it'll affect somebody, but like you'll never, like sometimes you never know, you know what I mean? That person might not ever come up to you and tell you like, oh, like this song like did this for me kind of thing. I was talking to Cody from Silver Recording. He was saying like he like had somebody like come up to him and tell him like, oh, like I was going through this, blah, 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 and then this kind of song like helped me through these things. I'm like, that's cool. I go, but you gotta imagine like how many people you won't get to meet, but that your music like affects, you know, like you just will never meet. But because we share so many things like in common, just as people, like most people, like someone might hear that song and it'll get them through. Like, that might be the song that they have on repeat for this and that, but like they will maybe never get a chance to like let you know that. But that's one of the things when you're writing that you kind of have to, you just put it out there and be like, okay, it's up to you. Like everybody else will have like their own interpretation and their own like meaningfulness to themselves other than what you wrote it. But it's really cool how that like will connect a lot of people like together. You know what I mean? And then you know, sometimes run into like someone who's got a similar experience with a song like that you guys just like share in common, which is such a cool thing that music does, you know what I mean, to connect people.
Yeah, I heard that audio clip from Cody mentioning that, and I instantly connected with it. We had someone, when we played at the Rail Club, Nothing For You did, and we played that song, and then someone came up to me and was like, hey, I tried to kill myself at this time, and, you know, the song really spoke to me, and I'm really glad that I was here to see it. Yeah. And I told him, I was like, that's amazing. You know, you deserve life. You deserve better than what you give yourself. And, you know, I'm glad that you were able to hear that and experience that. And stuff like that, that's what keeps me going. Not even just stuff like that, maybe just stuff like, man, y'all sounded great. I'm glad I came. When's the next one? Or just someone who even comes to the merch booth to say hi. like kind of just like making that connection, not just like on stage, but you know, face to face, like how's it going, shake hand, and it's just great.
Again, and these are small gestures that just make it like worth it. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, you know, I am playing out there, sure, for myself, but it's nice just, again, someone just stops by the merch table and was like, hey, you guys are great. Like, that's just effort. You know what I mean? Somebody came up, like, they didn't have to. That's why, like, those people that, like, you kind of make the effort to let it know that, like, they enjoyed, like, the music that you just played or something like that, or any, like, comments like that kind of just, you know, help out a little to help out with the work. Like I said, like, we were bringing it back to the beginning, like, the amount of work that it took to get to that place in the first place, you know, to be able to play that show and be like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? Oh, like, all those practices we were doing, everything, like, cool. That was like, and sometimes that's all you get, you know what I mean? You get like you get someone just saying thank you, or someone coming up to the merch table and, you know, getting a sticker, getting anything. And it's, okay, that's nice. Somebody made the effort. Because that's one of the weird things that I kind of put together about merch, or things that you sell for your band. I always used to think, people are buying just a t-shirt. Like, that's all it is. Like, I thought about, like, when you go to the store and buy a shirt, I'm like, but that's not it. Like, people buy stuff or come to the merch table or something because they want to support you. Like, they hope that if they buy a shirt, not only, like, sure, they get to, like, support you that way, but they hope that whatever, like, they contribute to you is just going to help you make more music. You know what I mean? Like, that's the biggest, like, deal of why, like, people will buy, you know, merch. It's really not because, like, oh, I really want a hat right now. It's because, like, oh, like, I really want to help, like, this band out. Like, this band was awesome. Like, so I want to, like, do something to kind of help them out.
Yeah, and that's really good for, like, the touring bands and everything, because it's like, you know, you're $25 for, like, a shirt or a hoodie could possibly help fill their tank to get to the next spot. It's like, I'm not sure if people know just how much their contributions like that really help the artist, whether it's like, you know, oh, you helped us buy dinner that night, or you helped give us gas. But it's just, it goes a long way. It really does. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, touring bands like that, it's like I said, it's tough, especially, like, all the time you see, like, people, like, running into just, like, obstacles, like, on the road, whether it's, like, the van breaking down and, like, you have to get to the next city to get, like, whatever money you're gonna get paid. Like, we had a band, Sarah and the Safe Word. They broke down. They had an accident in Oklahoma, and they were supposed to be in, like, Fort Worth the next day. So they had to, like, rent a van to just come and play this show. But they played it only with, like, 4 members, like, because 2 of them had to stay behind with the band. Yeah. But, like, again, they still, like, made it to the show. They still, like, performed, like, awesome. Like, they played, like, a great set, and, like, still walked away. Like, everybody, like, was there, like, you know, fell in love with the performance and things like that. I'm like, that's the effort that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like, they are having a shitty day, like, a shitty time right now. Like, but you got to figure it out. You know, you have to go there. So the performance, what they, like, hopefully, like, get paid to play, and then also, like, the merch they sell, like, is now, like, now they're going to have to pay that band. You know what I mean? Like, so those are, like, the kind of roadblocks you hit there. And you're like, oh, this band's getting paid this much. It's like, yeah, but look what just happened. Now, like, a bunch of that, like, has to go to that. Maybe that or all of it, you know what I mean? Just kind of go to fixing the van. Now, how do they get home, kind of thing, you know? But yeah, I think people are. That's what I want more people to interact with bands. You know what I mean? With musicians and stuff like that, just to get a glance into, like, that world, to appreciate it in that level. And I think this scene does a really good job of offering opportunities, like, to do that. You know what I mean? To talk to people and to kind of get a glance into kind of what that all entails. Yeah,
and even just, like, getting to connect with other musicians, especially around this area. There have been so many shows that we played around here that are just, like, all local. And it would be some of the best turnouts that we've ever seen, and some of the best people around that we ever talked to. And it's really great because, especially with other bands and other musicians around this area, it's really nice to connect as people. Yeah. And not just see each other yell on stage for 30 minutes to 45 minutes. It's, like, really cool just to actually have a conversation, sit down, share a drink together. I don't know. But other than that, just getting to know the person.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things I appreciate about this scene is that it's super easy to do that. Like I've done that with so many people that I've met, so many friends that I still have to this day, were just because of that. Like, you know what I mean? One of those interactions where someone came up to merch people that I came up to theirs, they come up to mine, or I just came up to them after. And now I have like friendships that have lasted like years over these people that I met at just like shows, whether going or performing at them. You know, you still have that chance to have the same interactions. That's why I hope more people would just give the opportunity to just go to random shows. Yeah. Me and DJ used to have this thing where every Tuesday we would find just a local, like something random thing happening, and we would just go to it whether we knew it or not, and had some great experiences. And I'm like, oh, this is just giving yourself the chance to just like, let me go see something. Like it might be good, it might be not, but I might meet people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna walk into.
Never. Actually, one of those I think we ran into a Japanese band, and they were super like experimental. I can't remember their name, but like they had a little like one of those toy guns that makes sounds like and they like put that next to the pickups of the guitar and were like sampling that into like their music. It was so nuts, but it was like crazy. It was so good. Like an experience again. I'm like, oh, you know what? That's literally a random ass Tuesday that we decided to just find a show anywhere. We're like, oh, okay. Which we're trying to like, we should bring that back just to get more people to show up to random stuff. But with I guess one band, Saints and Light, you're about to release some stuff later on. What are your plans for Nothing For You? You guys have anything
as of right now, we do have some member changes, but that's going along smoothly. As far as new music goes, we have new stuff for the sake of on stage, but nothing yet in the studio. I don't know when we'll have the aspirations for it. We're still kind of like trying to push out the new EP halfway down, and then trying to gain a little traction off that. Maybe get some shirts eventually. But yeah, mainly my focus as far as new music goes is focused with Saints. The Saints, which we are in the closing stages of that album, just about 6 years later from our debut album.
just the right amount of time. It's getting done. I'm sure people. Are you guys gonna play live shows and stuff like that?
Yes. Unfortunately, we have been offered shows, but it's always been either Nothing For You's playing or one of us has something going on that day. I think we've already had like 3 offers this year.
That's the toughest part as a band, just in general. Just like, oh, okay, yeah, we want to play that, but the logistics of just like getting to be able to play stuff, like, oh, how many people? Because I mean, everybody else is like doing stuff, and got like you have to have time to plan them out. Are you bringing the backflip back?
Oh, always, always. I was actually the reason I found out about this podcast was someone tagged me in the clip of you and DJ.
Yeah, DJ was like bringing it up. I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
And for the record, I have not missed one yet. That's probably the day I do is probably going to be the day that I like think that I should probably hang it up.
Just the one day that you can't do it.
Yeah, like my bag gives out or something like that. I've done one at about every single venue in the almost like since 2012, like almost 10 years of playing shows.
Wow.
9 years, I think, 2013, except for one venue, which is Killers.
Killers is tough.
It's a tiny joint.
If it's packed out, which usually kind of is, it's hard to do a lot of maneuverability like in there, which is cool. I don't know why, like I enjoy that at like smaller venues, because one, it doesn't take much to pack it out, but I just like that feeling of like, I feel like it allows people to just hype themselves up a lot more and be more interactive when they're like in a crowded like little room together.
Yeah, it gives it like a house show type vibe.
Yeah, and I love that. Like Killers,
back when
like
J&J's was still open.
Oh, J&J's, yeah, especially. R.I.P. I miss that place.
Rip.
But yeah, did they ever open the place that was supposed to open there?
I don't think so. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, like that small house show venue, because like I remember playing like house shows and they've always been like super awesome. Like it's just fun, you know what I mean? Because I feel like it takes the pressure completely off of like anything other than like let's just fucking play. Like I still remember, and actually it's funny because I ran into the guy whose house it was like a week ago, and I haven't seen this dude in like years. But we played and we were playing in his backyard, and like this was. Man, this was so many years ago, because this is the first iteration of like what Under Oblivion used to be. When we were in high school, and we were playing, and we were like on our last song, and we were like doing we were about to hit like a break. Oh, we played the breakdown. We played, and then like a cop car pulls up to be in the alley. So we're in the backyard. So he pulls up to through the alley, and like and I'm like, yeah, I don't know why, and I'm just like, you know what? Like, so I was like, I don't give a fuck that the cop's right there. Like, we're gonna do this breakdown again, and then like we just start playing it again, and the cop like turns on, like right as the breakdown hits, he turns on his lights, and I'm like that memory is engraved in my head because I'm just like, that felt so cool. It probably wasn't as cool as I remember it. I go, but in my mind, like it is, but I've been to like tons of those shows that are just like you just show up and there's bands playing, and like I went to one not too long ago, like maybe it's been maybe a year or something, a year or two, maybe 2 years, probably pre-COVID, but again it's just like this random house, and then like people were just packed into the, and again it gives you, I don't know, it gives you more momentum to like want to, if the person next to you is jumping around, you know, it's probably more comfortable if I jump around too, so I'll jump around too. And then like if people start like moshing and pushing each other around, like you want to do it too, it just adds that hype.
It becomes way more contagious.
Exactly. Yeah, which is just something that I kind of been like eyeing about. It's like, you know what, like that's why like I've had like the most fun at like house shows and like these smaller venue kind of shows. Yeah. Especially like when I think about like going to a concert, I feel like people like who go to concerts and like nothing against it, but like anything American Airlines or anything like that big, I'm like, this kind of sucks. Like I don't it's not my favorite like thing to do, because I'm like, that's if I guess I just am like just gonna watch it and that, but it's so far because I've been spoiled by small shows and stuff like that of like bands that I've wanted to see. I always talk about like I saw Dance Gavin Dance at Tomcats, like, you know what I mean, like a tiny ass venue that was completely packed out, and it was like I've had some of the funnest times there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean about like those American Airlines shows, because I've never really seen a point of paying like what $200 at least to see someone on a jumbotron.
Like it kind of stings because like I want to see some of those artists, you know what I mean? But I'm like, and especially now the whole thing with like scalpers and shit like just fucking ruins all of it.
It
like,
really does.
You're like, oh, okay, maybe you're about to like, you know, pay, you know, $200 or something for a ticket. I'm like, all right, like I'll do it because I really want to see this person. Mm-hmm. But then like you don't get to the ticket in time, and now you have to pay $500 to $600. You see these people paying astronomical prices, and I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, especially like again because I've been spoiled with like musicians that I want to see, like I can go see them and see them like decently, without having to really worry about that. Mm-hmm. But with like those bigger shows, I feel like there's got to be a way to like fix that. You know, that's I feel like that's ruining concert going for a lot of people because it's hella expensive. Like I had a friend who like went to go see a band and he ended up paying like, I think he said like $500 a ticket. I'm like, that's crazy. I go, for a show, you know what I mean, like for a concert, I go, that's insane. Like that's crazy that you had to pay that much to just see a band, you know what I mean? Like that I don't know, like that kind of just like, it makes me mad. Like I'm like, you know, there's a bunch of people that I would like to see, and with scalping and stuff, like by the time you get to buy a ticket, like it's not even a good ticket and it's still super expensive.
I mean, I'm guilty of going to shows like that. Not that it's a bad thing, but I remember like 2019 I went to Breaking Benjamin and Chevelle out there at Dos Equis, and we got the lawn seats and they weren't expensive at all. I mean, it was really far away from the performers, but it just goes back to what we talked about earlier. There's just something about going to go see a band that you really like live, like actually getting to see them perform, hearing what, you know, you always like either hear from your headphones or car speakers, actually getting to sit there and witness it. And like I said, that's why I said like I definitely nothing against like going to, because I think I went to I think at the Dos Equis building, I don't know what it was called then. It's gone through so many names. Like Gexa.
But it was a Foo Fighters game, and they played for 3 fucking hours. 3 hours, and I was on the lawn, like, you know what I mean? Like I was on the lawn, and I didn't even realize that they were on for 3 hours, like, because I'm like, they have so many fucking songs, like good, and that was one of the shows, because I literally was going, I'm like, is this gonna be fun? We're gonna be so far away. Like I hadn't been to a show like that in like a while, and I didn't even notice. Like I'm like, I looked at like down in my watch, I'm like, 3 hours was gone by. Like how? Like I've been standing here, like I didn't sit down once or anything. I don't have a seat or anything. Like I've literally been standing here for 3 hours just watching a band and just being enthralled by it. I mean, like, so again, music, I don't think it doesn't matter like where you see it from, and that's why I get like people who see them from like far away, because if that's the artist that you love and you want to see, like, just hearing, like I said, that live feeling is something like they can't take away from you.
Yeah,
like,
you'll sit anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
Which, yeah, I totally get that. God, 3 hours, dude. Dave Grohl is a legend.
I don't know how they made it to 3 hours. I can't. Dude, I barely make it through like 5 songs.
Dude, 25 minutes set. Yeah. I'm dripping sweat.
I'm like, dude, and their shit is interactive. That dude's running back and forth through the stage. I'm like, this is insane. And I didn't even notice.
He has sustained so much from a live set. Like, I remember he like fell off, broke his leg or something like that. Just propped his leg up and kept
came
playing.
Back and played. Yeah.
And it's like, I respect that so much. I've played through maybe like 3 different respiratory infections and like a rolled ankle, and I think I should get like a friggin' Purple Heart for it.
it's a band, Purple Heart, but yeah, man, it's insane what we'll kind of go through just to play, because again, I've played it like shows like sick or not feeling good or that, just because I'm like, that's my opportunity to do so. I'm gonna do it as much as I can. I'm not gonna let anything kind of get in the way of it. Like, I've had my car like wrecked into like right before a show, and then I was like, you know what, deal with this later. Like, we're still playing like the show kind of thing. Like, nothing really like gets in the way like of like shows and stuff like that, and it's kind of nice, like, to have that outlet, which is it's funny, but it's one of the things that I've like been missing, because I'm like, I don't get to do that anymore. But like going to shows and that, so I make up for it in like being able to go. And luckily, like with doing NoiseROT and stuff, I get to go to a bunch of shows, and then I try to go to shows outside of bars, because I'm like, dude, it's so much fun. Like, it's so much fun just to see people play, and again, just getting to meet that and just expanding like music palette, you know what I mean? Like, even going to a show that I wouldn't normally go to be able to listen to something, and I'll find something. Like, I'm usually definitely a lot less. I think when super early on into my music, I was very like almost elitist in a way, where I only like a specific thing. I'm like, nah, I don't like any of this shit. And like over the years now, I just fucking love music, and I'm just like, I just want to hear it. Like, I don't care like what I'm listening to. I'll go and I can find something that I love about like this band, or that I like about this band, or any artist. Now I just enjoy listening to stuff.
As much as I love metal, like as much as I love playing it, listening to it, I will admit it has probably some of the worst fan base out there. If you feel called out, check yourself. It's true. But it's just because of the elitists of like, say like a random band, like bands like Memphis Mayfire. It's like you got like stuff like The Hollow and The Challenger, and I'll even say Unconditional, because I liked that album, Fight Me. And then they get This Light I'll Hold and Broken, and I personally didn't like that album or any of those albums, but it's like, it's stuff they wanted to write, stuff they wanted to do, so more power to them. Their newer stuff, I'm digging it, especially like some of the softer stuff from it. I'm starting to, I think as I've grown up, it's like, whether I like it or not, they probably appreciate that or not, but at the end of the day, it's the music that they want to write and that they want to perform. And more power to them all.
Yeah, and especially being I think when you're in a band, you kind of you start cutting like bands a little bit more slack about like, oh, they changed this and that. I'm like, yeah, because that's just how it happens. Like, you can't, if you were asked, like if you like personally were asked to write the same, like the EP that you just dropped, write it again, like just change a few things up, and like you're gonna hate that. Like, if you're gonna try to write the same type of thing, like, no, I want to make something. Again, most of the time we're always trying to like better ourselves, and not technically to write something more technical or this and that. I just more music to make me feel like I accomplished something. You know what I mean? Like, it's something good, and that takes creativity changes. And most of the time, we're not listening to like metal to write metal. You know what I mean? We're getting it from like anything else that we're listening to, and trying to like, how do we bring in different techniques and this and that. That's why like meeting people, talking to different bands, finding out how they write is beneficial just for yourself. Which is again why you want to kind of nurture those friendships and like relationships with people, because again, you bring all that as influence that you bring back into your own writing.
And looking back on it, I can't really blame the artist for going through all that, because especially through to compare to them the short time that I've been doing this, it's like you spend so much time grinding on this kind of song, this kind of genre, listening to it, getting influenced by it, writing it, performing it, that it's like I just need a break.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to write something that's a little bit off the script from what our track record has shown.
Yeah.
So, looking back at that, I can't blame any of the artists that have kind of steered away from their home sound, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because, again, music comes from a place, from your environment. You mean, like, where your headspace is at that current moment. Mm-hmm. And most of the time when stuff is released and getting performed, like, it's been written from a while ago. And you're not feeling that anymore. And it's like, I'm feeling something different now, whatever it may be. So you're not going to write the same music. You can't, you know what I mean? Because you're not in whatever headspace you were then.
Yeah.
You have to write what's happening now. You know what I mean? What am I creatively being able to do at the moment? You know what I mean? And that's why shit just changes all the time.
Yeah. Stuff like that always makes me wonder, like, for going back, I guess, to Breaking Benjamin, like playing songs that they wrote so long ago. It's like they'll still play Diary of Jane as their last song. It's like, how do they feel about that song now?
True, and you get a lot of people that are like, I still love that song, and then some people that don't like it anymore, but they'll play it because they understand that people enjoy it. And I feel like, I don't know, if that happens at because I know I've gone through that where I'm like, people like this song, but I don't like this song anymore. I'm like, if I go through it, I can't imagine people who written hits that people were like, I fucking love this song, and you're way past and writing new stuff. That's why it's kind of tough when you're maybe a band, like Breaking Benjamin, writing new stuff, and people are like, I don't want to listen to that. I want to listen to Diary of Jane, and then fuck, I want people to listen to this stuff. So you gotta figure out a way. But again, you will always have a fan for what you're writing most of the time, whoever it may be. It might not be the old fan that's a Diary of Jane, diehard, but you find new ones and you progress. That's just the way you make progress.
Yeah, I feel like Danny Worsnop probably feels this way about the final episode.
Probably. I've never listened to a lot of the. Actually, I don't think I've ever listened to Asking Alexandria.
That was one of the first core albums that I got me into the genre.
Really?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was in 7th grade. We all had laptops for our school, and the two albums that I would bring up there were The Poison by Bullet, and then As Daylight Dies by Killswitch. Nice. And then those were my go-tos for a year.
Yeah.
And then I had this new discovery of Attack Attack self-title, and then Stand Up and Scream.
I remember that one.
And then Guilty Pleasure, but We Stitch These Wounds, Black Veil Brides.
Oh, I never listened to that.
Yeah, I grew out of that one quickly. But it was just all one big gateway, which I feel like everyone has their different story of what got them into metal in general or whatever kind of music they like. And that's another thing that I just love to hear is everyone's story.
Everyone has one, and it's kind of cool to see some commonality, because I remember the Attack self-title, for some reason I thought that shit was revolutionary. When I first heard it, I'm like, oh my god, this is it. I was like, this is I literally showed so many people Attack when that self-title, when I found it, and I was like, more people need to know about this. I need to spread this spread the gospel. So I showed so many people Attack, and even people who didn't like metal like that, just because it was so crazy how they mixed their little dance.
It was such a middle ground.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, this is nice. That's kind of what happened when I first got into anything with it. I guess metal. I don't know if you would consider it metal, but anything with heavier screams and vocal stuff like that was A Day to Remember. Is I can't remember the name of the thing. The one with the phoenix on it. Anyways,
For Those Who Have Heart.
For Those Who Have Heart.
Yes,
I forget that. I love that album. To this day, I don't know, that album I still super enjoy.
That album holds up.
But that was the one where I think I heard it was the Plots Upon the Panhandle was the first one, and I'm like, oh, because they would sing and scream together. That's literally the thing. I was like, people are like, you can do that, you can do both, and my friend's like, yeah, I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that, and then I started diving into more bands that did that. That's when I found Attack kind of got in there. That's when I discovered Dance Gavin Dance back then. Anything that you can mix those two revolutionized me. Because at the time, I really like singing. And that's even why I got into the band in the first place. Because I'm like, they do like heavier stuff, but I feel like I can sing in there, like if I want to. So that's literally why I learned to scream, was just so I was able to sing with it. And they were cool with it. Now, granted, shit was terrible. Like I was so bad at both. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't good at singing or screaming. But they need, like, honestly, I did the same thing that you did. It was like their vocalist wasn't showing up, and I would show up to their practice just to like listen and chill out. And so I memorized like all their songs. And he's like, he's not showing up again. It's now. I'm like, hey, dude, you guys just need someone to fill in. Like, I wrote something like while I was here. Like, we could just like at least like have something to go. He's like, all right. And then like they were like, fuck it, yeah, fuck that dude. So
it sounded like you were plotting from the beginning.
I kind of was, yeah. Because I'm like, let's see, because I kept hearing like them complaining about him. And I'm like, if he's not showing up, man, I'm gonna show up. I'm like, so
just pull up with I just happened to stumble upon this whole full-length album worth of lyrics.
Pretty much had the notebook full. I'm like, he's like, yeah, those 3 songs you guys keep practicing over. Yeah, I have lyrics. And they were just like, yeah, man, we need somebody.
Sure, gonna be like, teaching the guitar parts and everything.
But it's cool. Like everyone does have like a little like origin story on like what got them to the type of music that they write. You know what I mean? Like it took so much influence, but it's kind of fun to see. You're right. Like their little like gateway. What was the trigger to be like, oh, okay, this is what I want to try like to do. Man, yeah. So Saints Can Lie dropping some new stuff. Nothing for You's got a few shows coming up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was fun. I don't have anything else out of my head. When's the next Nothing for You show?
It's April 9th at the Ridgely Theater. We're headlining the Insomniacs Playground.
That's right, the
Dallas
Insomniacs.
Independent Entertainment.
Dude, they've been doing such a great job too. Those Insomniacs Playgrounds have been pretty cool. Like they've been doing well. So shout out to Jesse, Daisy, everybody working over there. The OG Nick Womack. Yeah, and then let me know when the Saints Can Lie stuff comes out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we do. We're starting to do like reaction shit too on our NoiseROT channel. So once you get stuff, you send it my way, and we'll put that bitch on there too.
Sounds good.
But thank you again. Thank you guys for watching. Thank Jake for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
And I'll tag all his stuff, all Saints Can Lie stuff, all of Nothing for You will be tagged below.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be on here. I've always wanted to kind of do stuff like this, and this has been a blast. And yeah, I can't wait to see what the future holds for the both of us.
Oh yeah, same thing. All right, we'll see you guys later.
Later.